How much would it really cost to send out a fourth stimulus check and recurring monthly payments? With that being said, what is the actual likelihood of a fourth stimulus check and recurring payments? Let's talk through it. But hey everybody, welcome and thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't done so already, or if you happen to be new here, please make sure to hit the subscribe button right down below the video, as I am your one and only daily advocate right here on YouTube. Thank you so much for your support. Let's talk through this. So first off, we have a lot of numbers to talk through in this video. However, I think it's all going to make sense here in just a matter of minutes. So let's work our way through this. So first off, let's talk about the first three stimulus checks that they have already distributed. Now, this is the $1,200, the $600, and the most recent $1,400. Now, these three payments went out to an estimated 285 million Americans with a price tag of $850 billion. Okay, good to know. Now let's talk about the three stimulus packages that contained these three stimulus checks. The first one being from about a year ago, back in April, it was actually back in late March of 2020, the CARES Act, $2.2 trillion. The next package that contained the $600 stimulus check was passed in the end of 2020, and it had the $600 stimulus check with a price tag of $900 billion. And now the most recent stimulus package, the American Rescue Plan, early in 2021, with a price tag of $1.9 trillion that contained the $1,400 stimulus check. Now, if we add all of these up, 2.2 trillion plus 900 billion plus 1.9 trillion comes out to $5 trillion. Okay, good to know. Now, if we take the $850 billion from the total price tag of all of these stimulus checks and we divide it into the $5 trillion, we come up with 17%. Okay, so good. So out of the $5 trillion that they allocated of stimulus, 17% of it was allocated to stimulus checks. Good to know. Okay, so we have $5 trillion of spending, and they gave us basically 17% of that in the form of direct payments, otherwise known as stimulus checks. Very interesting. Okay, now let's talk about the couple proposals on the table right now for a fourth stimulus check. The two proposals on the table right now are calling for a $2,000 stimulus check. And then they also have recurring payments. But let's just talk about the $2,000 stimulus check just to start, and then we can get into the recurring, okay? One at a time here. All right, let's talk about this. So, assuming that this same $2,000 stimulus check would go out to the same number of people, 285 million. Now, again, I'm rounding that number a little bit just to make, kind of round numbers, but it's about 285 million Americans the payments go out to. If we multiply 285 million by $2,000 a piece, comes out to $570 billion that a $2,000 stimulus check would cost the federal government. Okay, so that would be the biggest amount that they would spend on any one stimulus check. It's a big number, right? $570 billion. I mean, that's a lot of money. I would love to have $570 billion. I think all of us could have a little bit of fun with that, right? But that's what it would cost. However, let's look at it a little bit further now. Okay, so they send out a $2,000 stimulus check. It costs them $570 billion. Cool, everybody's happy. We all get to play around and jump up and down with $2,000 in our hands and have a fun time, right? We get to do whatever we have to do, pay our bills, pay down some debts, buy the necessities, whatever we need to do. Honestly, it doesn't really matter. Whatever you see fit for the money. However, let's talk about recurring payments now. So there's two different proposals on the table once again. Like I said, both of them contain a $2,000 stimulus check plus recurring. However, let's talk about the two different proposals for recurring. So the one proposal says a $1,000 recurring payment thereafter for 12 months. The other proposal says $2,000 recurring for at least 6 months. So if you calculate it all out, it basically comes down to the same amount of money, $12,000, right? It's $2,000 for 6 months or $1,000 for 12 months. Either way, it's still $12,000. Get what you know what I mean? So anyway, it's going to come out to the same number either way. So let's calculate that out now. let's once again assume 285 million people would be receiving this recurring payment of whatever it happens to be, $1,000 for 12 months or $2,000 for 6 months. It comes out to a total of $3.42 trillion. Again, $3.42 trillion. That is almost, well, it's about $1.6 trillion off of the total number of, or the total dollars spent on those first 3 stimulus packages that contained the first 3 stimulus checks. So that's a huge, huge number, $3.42 trillion. That's a big one. Okay. With all of that being said, like I said at the beginning, we have a lot of numbers to talk about. Whose head is spinning right now? Yeah, but either way, let's talk through this a little bit further now. Okay, so now that we have all the numbers on the table and we can see how much it would actually cost for them to send out a 4th stimulus check and recurring monthly payments, let's talk about what is the actual likelihood of a 4th stimulus check and recurring payments. Now again, I just want to make it very clear. This is all a proposal. It's still on the table right now. Nothing is set in stone, and there's no official numbers or anything like that out of the government. This is me and my own calculations. By the way, I was just doing a ton of calculating, and my calculator started to smoke a little bit. No, I'm just kidding. It really didn't, but it was kind of feeling like it because I was pounding away on the little buttons, and it was having a hard time keeping up with me. But either way, let's talk through it. So, a $2,000 stimulus check, $570 billion. Is it doable? Yeah, absolutely, it's doable. Is it likely? I mean, honestly, it could very well be likely. $570 billion, that's a lot of money, but at the same time, it's not like the end all be all, right? I mean, it's not like it would break anybody. You know what I mean? I mean, it's a ton of money. Don't get me wrong, but it's certainly manageable. They could certainly do it if they wanted to do this. Now, just remember, they could also negotiate that a little bit lower. Maybe they want to do $1,400 again, maybe $1,500, maybe $1,800. Either way, this could all be worked out. Not a big deal, right? $570 billion is certainly manageable, even though it's a big number. I get it. However, let's talk about the recurring part now, the $3.42 trillion. Is that likely? Realistically, in my honest opinion, I just don't see them in any possible way spending $3.42 trillion on recurring payments. I just honestly don't see it happening. Seriously, that's a big number. Here's what I do think could be a possibility though. However, okay, so just work with me on this for a second. I don't foresee them spending the $3.42 trillion on recurring payments to 285 million people. Honestly, I just don't see that happening. I'm just being totally real with you right now. I don't see it happening. However, could we see a revised version of that? Yeah, we possibly could. Here's what I would anticipate. If they happen to do some kind of recurring payments, like a monthly payment on stimulus checks, here's what I would foresee them doing. I honestly think that they would lower the threshold, like the income thresholds, for the next recipients of recurring payments really low, as in like anybody earning under maybe like $30,000, maybe $40,000 at the most, so that this money is really, really targeted and focused on the lowest income people in the country, right? Because if they send it out to that same 285 million people every single month, month after month after month, and racking up $3.42 trillion, I think that's going to be a really hard sell. Honestly, I just really think it's going to be a hard sell. But if they look at this and say, hey, let's lower the income threshold from $75,000 from an individual and $150,000 on a couple, all the way down to maybe like $30,000 for an individual and maybe like $60,000 for a couple, then they would really narrow that down from maybe like 285 million people, maybe down to like, who knows, 100 million, maybe 150 million. I don't really know what the exact number would be, but either way, they could probably cut that number in half. Ultimately, the whole thing would probably cost about maybe like $1.7 trillion. Again, that's a huge, huge number. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's not. It certainly is a big, big number, but I feel like something like that would be even more realistic than sending out recurring payments to the same basically groups that they sent out all these other payments to. I'm just not seeing the likelihood of that happening. But I do think if they happen to talk about recurring payments, they would really, really focus it on the lowest income individuals that they possibly foresee. Just like these, the child tax credit, for example. Let's talk about that for a second. These are sending out those recurring payments to individuals with an income under $75,000 and couples under $150 going forward at a rate of $250 a month or $300 a month. Okay, so again, that's going to cost a lot of money, but it's in the form of a refundable tax credit, right? So they're sending it out like as tax credits. But either way, maybe on the recurring payments, maybe they don't even talk about $1,000, but maybe they do something more along the lines of what they're doing with the child tax credit. Maybe they look at it and say, that's a really steep price tag. What if we just send out everybody maybe like $400 a month, something like that? Again, $400 a month is not going to be like life-changing for people, but guess what? Would $400 a month extra help you out a little bit? I would probably argue, yeah, absolutely. $400 a month, $300 a month, even $200 extra a month for everybody, especially the lower income individuals, maybe $30,000 a year of income or less. I mean, $200 a month extra or $400 a month would really, really help out a ton once again. So, there's so many different varieties and different things that they could do with this recurring payments. I mean, they could lower the income threshold. They could lower the amount from $1,000 down to, like I said, anywhere between $200 and $500 a month, something like that, and really focus it on the lowest income individuals who are, as they continue to say, high risk and vulnerable. I mean, let's get real here. Let's send it out to the people who really need it. So, I don't know, certainly some very interesting situations, but once we put the numbers behind all of this stuff, it's kind of interesting to look at it and think, okay, is that a realistic number for them to push through and start sending out to people? You know what I mean? So anyway, I wanted to bring you this quick video and just kind of run through all these numbers and all these situations. Realistically, I still think that stimulus check number 4 is probably a high likelihood of actually happening. I really do think that. Do I think it's going to be $2,000? Honestly, I don't really know. I do think there's going to be a fourth stimulus check. I don't know how much. Could it be $2,000? Yeah, absolutely. It could be. Could it be $1,400? Yeah, it could be again. I honestly have no clue. I just think that there's really going to be a fourth stimulus check. What's up in the air, though, is the recurring payment and how much will that actually be when they actually implement it / if they implement it, if you know what I mean. So I hope that helps you out. Certainly a lot of numbers, like I said, but very interesting to kind of talk through all of this. Either way, thanks again for your support. I really do appreciate it. Please make sure to hit the subscribe button right down below the video if you haven't done so already. And feel free to check out any of my other videos here on the channel, as I have over 1,000 videos across the channel. So thanks so much for your support, and I will catch you again in the next one. I'll see you later.